I'm Jeff Cornwall, and this is the Entrepreneurial Mind. Today our guest is Chris Spintzyk. We'll be back to talk with him after these words from our sponsor.
Talkapolis, the social media TV network for your city.
Welcome back, everybody. So, Chris, you guys are involved in tech headhunting. Is that correct?
Correct.
How does someone get into that line of work? I mean, for me, I think often the interesting part of these discussions is the journey of how you get to where you are.
Well, and that's a funny question because it was a unique way for me to kind of fall into the business. I literally fell into the business. I was a traveling sales guy for T-shirts when I got out of college.
Okay, well, it's logical then to go into tech headhunting.
Exactly.
Me, yeah.
Just kind of, gradual progression.
I'm not sure what's unique about that.
Yeah.
So.
And so when I got off the road there, was tired of traveling and everything else back home, there was a very cryptic ad written in the newspaper. I've been doing this for 18 years.
This is up in Chicago?
Yes, up in Chicago, where I got my start, correct. And
where the Bears try to play football.
Where the Bears try to play football and the Cubs try to play baseball.
Right.
And, the ivy just keeps on growing.
It does, yep.
But I replied to an ad in the newspaper and showed up at what was a recruiting company, but for light industrial folks.
Okay.
Didn't know what I was getting into, showed up there, interviewed, wasn't even prepared really to interview, had 2 earrings in my ears, your hair sticking up all over the place. The ad said, hey, make good money doing minimal work. And I said, okay, I'm going to go take a shot at that. And got hired and, just kind of fell into the business. Really enjoyed that part of the business, helping folks get from one place in their life to a better place in their life, regardless of the position, that I was
But really,
recruiting
all the
for.
experience you had was sales.
Yes.
How did you learn how to do this process of placement and?
There's a process involved, but the majority of it is empathy, listening, really understanding from a client standpoint what they're really looking for beyond. You get the written job spec and it's got a bunch of stuff listed on there, but you got to go beyond that and ask, what is it that you're really looking for? What does the ideal candidate, look like? What are they going to do? And then on the other side of the fence, when you're talking to the candidates, what is it that you really want to do? Because we're not in the business of making bad matches.
Right.
That doesn't do. I make the joke. My wife likes to spend too much money. I can't be paying fees back.
Right.
So I got to make sure that the fit is there.
Your wife's going to be able to see this show.
Yeah, and she knows.
Okay.
She'll nod her head and agree 100%, and then show me the next couch that she wants to buy. So I guess I got more people I got to place.
There you go.
But got my start in light industrial, and then gradually moved away from that and into technology. I was a generalist for years. I recruited.
So why technology? Was it just because it was a good field to get into for what you're doing?
Good field. In fact, I was in technology at the .com. When the bubble burst. I was there for the lead up to the bubble and then watched it burst because I was doing work for VC firms out on the West Coast.
Doing headhunting, helping to build their leadership teams, and the money dried up. And so overnight, it all went, and they stopped funding. And so I'm looking at this and saying, all right, now what am I going to do? And so I had to transition. Talk about that process, because a lot of people might just give up at that point.
Yeah, but I knew. I knew that I loved what I was doing, and so in the process, what I just described, you can apply that to any industry. There's a wrong thought that you can only recruit in one sector because your network is only that good, and so you can't transition, you're not as effective.
Right.
The process is the same. There is no secret sauce.
Right.
It's how willing am I to pick up the phone and call as many people as I possibly need to call and talk to find the right person for that role. That's all it is. And you just have to do a little bit of research to figure out, am I calling biochemists, or am I calling software engineers, or am I calling CTOs?
So what was that first couple of steps you took when the bottom dropped out and
and kind of talk about how you thought about that and the things that you did, because I mean, a lot of entrepreneurs go through that kind of a, maybe not that severe, but can go through those kind of radical transitions sometimes in their industries.
I was lucky that funny that I'm doing, work for the venture capital firms, but living in Nashville. And so, I was lucky in the fact that when the technology boom and bust happened, healthcare was still going strong here. And so I was able to transition and start to do some work in healthcare so that, I could build almost a new practice per se. And then from healthcare moved into the technology side of things. So
you've kind of followed what's happened in Nashville to some degree then?
Exactly.
The local ecosystem rather than big national trends.
Correct. In fact, I realized that it's a lot more difficult to recruit nationally if you don't have the infrastructure behind you. You know, because I mean, one of the common questions you get is, are you really telling me that you can recruit somebody better for me in Chicago living in Nashville than somebody in Chicago can recruit somebody in Chicago? And the same thing for folks that we talk to, here when they say, oh, I've got a firm from New Jersey asking to work with us. Can a guy from New Jersey sell Nashville better than I can sell Nashville? And so we focused locally, and really thought, there's enough going on here to support, what it is we're doing. And now that we've even created the new niche, the new firm that we've spun up to even, drive our focus a little bit narrower, into the pure technology leadership.
It wasn't that long ago, maybe just a couple years ago, that we would often hear about Nashville. It wanted to be a tech town, but it wasn't a tech town. And more recently, I've seen some people say that's kind of turned the table a little bit, and we're finally maybe reached that critical mass of tech companies. Are you starting to see that as well?
Yes, I mean it is, and it's a fun time to be here, but it's also a very confusing time, I think, for the town as a whole.
Right.
There's a lot of work here to be done on the technical side, and everybody will admit, and it's true, that there isn't enough talent here right now to do all the work that's here, let alone anything in the future.
Right.
So the challenge is there's always going to be an opportunity for guys like me to play chess. Take Jeff from company A and move him to company B. I didn't solve any big problem because there's still an open position. I just helped my client over here. The real challenge is going to be getting folks from the West Coast, the East Coast, Chicago, Atlanta, and bring them to Nashville and show them that they want to be here, and there's an opportunity to do some really, really cool things technology-wise locally, better opportunities than they might have from an overall, cost of living, lifestyle than you would in the valley.
It's an easy sell.
Yeah. The problem is, is somebody going to focus on working to get those folks, and that's what I intend to do.
Thanks for being with us, Chris. Enjoy talking with you, and appreciate all you're doing to help build the economy here.
Well, I enjoyed it. Thank you very much.
Thanks.